Just breathe and please calm down. I know I miss those days. Just make sure to keep it all still straight so you can tell me all about it. Cause I'll be on my way back home to you. Take the time to be loved. Just wear your scars and don't speak. Cause I know you don't have the words, so I'll go slow and let it all work in. Don't you give in and don't you give up. There's more to tomorrow than the sun. And I know it seems long ago, but please hold on. I promise I'll be there. Oh, you'd say anything. I know that you'd say anything to keep it all around now.
Alrighty, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Uriah Swift Lifestyles Pro Series for race number 16, live at Kansas Speedway. This is the penultimate race of our inaugural season, where we will cut down the playoff field from 8 drivers to 4 after the checkered flag flies in Kansas. I'm Ernest Levy, your lead announcer. Joining me in the booth, as always, is executive producer Harold Darner, and fresh off his run at the Podium 500, Mr. Jacob Bell. How's it going, guys?
It's going good. Happy to be here at Kansas for, like you said, the second to last race of our season, man. This season's flown by. It's been a lot of fun. We've got to see some exciting racing, some crazy finishes. Even last week, we saw a great finish. So I'm excited to see what Kansas is going to bring tonight and see who makes up our Final Four next week for Phoenix.
I can't wait to leave so we can say we're not in Kansas anymore.
Oh, Harold.
I had to throw that in there. Come on.
It's one of those where if you know, you know.
Exactly.
Let's take a look at our weather presented by Lottie'sTravelWorld.com for the Kansas Cornfield 150. Got partly cloudy skies here. Air temp at 82 and track temp at close temperature at 84 degrees. Humidity at 75%, and very windy out there in Kansas. So we might see a twister roll around. Winds only at 60 miles an hour from the west.
See, I ain't the only one.
Well, you mentioned it, Jake. Dominic DeLeo won last week at Michigan in an unbelievable finish, and he replicated what Danny Ware also did and Tyler Holman also did. They all won as the 8th seed driver in the playoffs, which it's unreal. And I talked to Harold before the Thursday night race of some Speed Shop Cup Series. I actually made Tyler Holman my pick to win that race solely because, 2 drivers had previously won from the 8th seed. And right now I'm looking at the top speed in practice. Sean Corcoran is listed as the 8th seed in our playoffs. So someone to keep an eye on as we roll through Kansas.
Yeah, definitely. The 8 seeds have been hot, man. And Sean finds himself in virtually a must-win situation tonight, Hunter, with only 12 points out and a lower field tonight. Only 17 drivers so far have showed up. Pretty much going to be almost impossible to try to make up those points without something crazy happening. So Sean finds himself in a must-win. Same exact scenario for Caleb Steimer. They're tied for that 7th spot. Eli Green finds himself in virtually a must-win as well, being 8 points back. But the real battle to keep our eye on is between teammates for that final spot. Forrest Smith, he has the 4th and final championship spot. But Gary Lewis just 1 point behind him. It could be a little interesting to see how those teammates fight for that final spot to race for championship next week.
And a win can bump them both out from one of the
Took
lower drivers, eh?
the words right out of my mouth. A win would knock both of them out unless one of those guys would end up winning. And in that case, that would be either guys. It would be their first win of the season.
Yeah, and Hunter, look at the drivers that we're talking about though. Like the 28 of Eli Green, he's had race-winning speed the last few weeks. as has Gary Lewis and Forrest Smith for that matter. And then, of course, our top three of DeLeo, Shane Wolf, and Robinson have just been on fire as of late. So I don't think it's out of the picture to really see a different winner tonight. I think it could definitely happen.
And it could be the 22 Sean Corcoran, not only mentioning the statistic there with the 8th seeded driver, but he is 8th and he is fastest. But that speed from practice, we could see transition into the race like we saw last week with Dominic DeLeo. Very well could be the case, as those are our point standings, and those are going to change. I believe only the last spot will change, but nonetheless, still some unsettled positions there.
One of these wide open tracks, though. I mean, we're gonna see lots of lanes moving through here, tire and fuel attrition, but seeing how those 8 drivers, actually Dom DeLeo, who doesn't really have to mix it up, but how does Smith and Lewis attack this track to ensure that they have the ability to get themselves into the Final Four?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do go on?
No, go ahead, Hunter. You're good.
I was just gonna add, because I'm looking right now. We're seeing drivers run the top, the middle, the bottom. Which lane do you feel like is the preferred line here around this track?
Honestly, I really don't know what to expect tonight. I think with what we've seen early on in practice, it looks like we've seen some of these guys kind of migrating towards the wall a little bit. You see the 22 Sean Corcoran up there, and right now he's quickest on the charts. So I think you could see the top tonight, but as for what we're going to see tomorrow night in the Northern Capital Truck Series and Wednesday night in the Lodge Box Series, it sounds like the bottom's going to be a lot more accessible for those guys, and we'll see a variety of different lanes pretty much all week long. So I don't know what we're going to expect to see tonight. The sun is still out a little bit, and it's going to set a lot more by the time we get our green flag tonight, and maybe that'll change some of the racing lanes. But right now, it's looking like the top might be the spot to be, but I wouldn't be shocked to see the bottom being used as well during this race.
I'll say this kind of races like, from what I'm seeing, it kind of races like Michigan, because both of these tracks were repaved around the 2012 season or just before the 2012 season. In Michigan last week, we saw drivers try to work the bottom, but that top just seemed to be too much to overcome for those guys trying to make moves on the bottom, unless you're like Dominic DeLeo and you force your nose down in and make contact with someone. But I feel like from what I'm going to see, or from what I'm seeing right now, what we'll probably see tonight, that outside groove just be the dominant groove all the way around the racetrack.
I find it funny as we talk about drivers jumping into our Twitch channel. Gary Lewis jumps in. He says, "Teammate or not, I will dump Forrest Smith to get into the Final Four."
It matters.
I was like, man.
That's what I'm saying. These guys know it matters to make it to Phoenix and have an opportunity. You're either in the Final Four or you're not. You're not going to be in 5th place and have a chance to win the championship. There's only one way to do it, and you got to make the Final Four. So it's a lot on the line for these guys tonight.
Teammate, friend, family member, anyone. You'll dump them to make it or to win it. And we saw Dominic DeLeo do that last week in Michigan. Who knows what we're going to see tonight at Kansas, as we have a little over 2.5 minutes remaining in our practice session. The top 4 spots consist of our playoff drivers, as we mentioned. Sean Corcoran, the fastest so far at a 31.602. Dominic DeLeo, winner last week in Michigan. He has zero pressure amongst the playoff drivers. I would believe the 2 drivers behind him, James Shane Wolf and Matthew Robinson, they both have a large points gap.
I'll tell you what, though, looking at the practice times, Hunter, the one thing that really jumps out to me the most is just how much quicker the 22 of Sean Corcoran is than the rest of this field. I mean, he ran over a half a tenth quicker than second place Dominic DeLeo and a full tenth quicker than third place James Shane Wolf. So knowing Sean, I know he likes to get the chance to practice a lot during the week when he has time. And I think, like you mentioned, him finding himself as the 8th seed heading into tonight, I'm sure he put in a lot of practice for this race. And right now it's paying off in practice. So I'd watch out for the 22.
So we ride on board here with Nicholas Halda, the Daytona winner. He's the quickest driver amongst those that are not in the playoffs.
Yeah, Nick had a disappointing end to his playoff run. Was involved with a wreck with Caleb Steimer back at Richmond, and it knocked Halda out of the top 8, and it allowed Caleb Steimer to find his way into the top 8. So he wasn't happy that night, but obviously he still has stuck around, and he's shown a lot of speed. So it's going to be interesting to see how these non-playoff drivers mix in with some of these guys who are super fast, like Sean Corcoran and Dominic DeLeo tonight.
Not only that, Travis Beckner too. Travis Beckner's been showing top 5 speeds here week in and week out, and it's exciting to see because he mixes it up with those playoff contenders, and who knows, he might be a name to watch out for. As we're close to wrapping up practice and just a short 30 seconds from now. Twitch chat, you can predict who will win tonight's race at Kansas Speedway. Is it going to be Sean Corcoran or potentially Dominic DeLeo going back-to-back? Could Shane Wolf or Robinson win, or Nicholas Halda? It's your decision. You make the pick. Put it in the chat. Let us know who you think is going to win, and then we'll give our predictions just before the race. So we see James Shane Wolf is the first one. It's a pretty solid one. James Shane Wolf almost had one last week in Michigan. Tried to go 3 in a row. He won the previous 2 races at Atlanta and Richmond. He's got 3 wins on the year, but looking to make it 4, and not just 4 in the win column, but 4 in the pole column as well, along with Matthew Robinson. Both drivers having 3 poles on the year as we're about to begin our qualifying session. So we see another one for James Shane Wolf. We see prediction of the key managing the intensity, but not getting in trouble early and being there at the end with little to no damage. Kind of like a super speedway race, which you can see that, and saw a little bit of that last week throughout a good portion of the races in all 4 Araya series at Michigan last week, and who knows, we could be in store for another one here. So we see Cliff Mullins, one of the first cars to go out on track. Now remember, these guys do have 10 minutes to go out and put down 2 lap times, but if they clip the wall in any one of their laps, the lap time will not count. So you see the 37 roll off in the 1 and 2.
Yeah, and Cliff is a pretty good racer, man. He's had some strong runs, and happy to see him joining us back in this series as of late, Hunter. I know you're a big fan of Cliff Mullins, and you like to see him back out here, and he's been showing some pace, and I'm curious to see how he'll fare out there tonight at a track like Kansas. Also, update on the Twitch chat. We actually put a poll out right now. Who's going to win the poll tonight with our top 4 guys from practice, so you guys can get your votes in before the timer runs out there to see who's going to win the poll. Robinson right now, the quick time with a 32:09, Hunter.
Robinson is one of the 4 choices, along with James Shane Wolf, Dominic DeLeo, and Sean Corcoran. So you see on the left the best lap times up there. Then on the top right, just below the 1 to go logo there on your screen, you'll see the fastest lap go. So you see James Shane Wolf going out, taking the green flag lap. Go a little loose there.
It's a perfect market placement for the fastest lap.
There we go. Eli Green to the top of the truck with a 31.697. Saw him back below 15th in the practice chart, but making a quick recovery in qualifying. And James Shane Wolf with 31.943 on his first lap. So we see the 31 working his way off turn 4. And going down the front stretch, you can use the apron here. Comes across the stripe. Little bit slower than his previous lap, so he'll stay in second for the moment. It looks like we've only got 7 cars that have gone out and put down lap times.
And how about the lap for Eli? Again, looking at the times, I mean, he ran a 31.6, and we only saw 2 drivers be able to top a 31.6 in practice, and that was the 22 of Sean Corcoran and the 21 of Dom DeLeo. So those 2 drivers yet to go out and make their qualifying laps, but a stellar lap so far for Eli Green's got him P1. I'm wondering if that might hold up to the end here.
Looking through the chat, he's not listed as our 4 options, but got one going for Travis Beckner for not only to win the pole, but to win the race also. Travis Beckner only having one win on the year, and that came at Watkins Glen. And we got one for Sean Corcoran to sweep not only the pole, but the race as well. So Nicholas Haldo comes across.
Our poll is who's going to win the poll.
Well, they would win the pole by being the fastest. Not technically wrong, but...
Yeah, technically.
So Nicholas Haldo put down a 32.101 on his first lap, and he rolls the top through 3 and 4. Got to be close to not clip the wall there on corner exit. There's Sean Corcoran jumped up to second with a 31.895. Nicholas Haldo just below him with a 31.938.
I believe that was Sean's first lap as well, so I would expect a pretty quick second lap here from him. When by the time he rolls around and crosses the stripe, we could see the 22 back up top if he can carry that speed he had from practice.
Yeah, very well could see that 22 on the pole. Oh, not quite. He improved his lap time with 31.759. Nonetheless, still a good starting spot for Sean Corcoran at the moment. Number 22 slotted at second.
Nope, not for long.
Well, he got dethroned by DeLeo. Dominic DeLeo, last week's winner in Michigan, jumped up with a 31.752.
And that
was on his second lap. Yep. Lap number 2. So looking inside, all of our playoff drivers are inside the top 10, with the only 2 non-playoff drivers being Nicholas Haldo and Cliff Mullins. Also got Mark Patterson. Oh, Bobby Tinch just went up to 9th on the chart. And here's Dustin Carroll in the 92 going out for his run. So Dustin Carroll 10th on his first run with a 32.455. Dustin Carroll comes off turn 4 and going to complete lap number 2 of his qualifying run. So he's done after this, and he improves with a 31.971. I'll put him to P6.
It's a good looking paint scheme there from the 92 as well. The Team Transcendent, so formerly named One Mind to Design Motorsports, making their transition from that old team name to their new team name of Transcendent Motorsports. So excited to see them on track next season. And here comes Travis Beckner, the Elite Entertainment number 45.
Yeah, Travis Beckner taking a green flag there on his run.
You had mentioned, he slides around.
Oh, he's spinning.
Oh, he holds it. See, he even in qualifying, he does great with this holding the car on the track. I was about to give him a shout out for being, because I know, Jake, you're talking about how he flags in Florida, I believe you said, and he was just told that he's going to be doing the flag for IMSA at Sebring.
Yep. Cool opportunity there for Travis Beckner. A lot of real-world racers and members of the motorsports community in the real life making their appearance here in areas. Looks like Travis is not going to post another lap time quicker, so he'll be slotted with a 32.1 P11.
Nonetheless, still a good lap time, even though he drifted through the second corner. Nonetheless, still pretty impressive. Now we have less than 2 minutes remaining in our qualifying session. Rick Ward, Brian Dixon, and Rick Christensen have yet to put down a qualifying time. And we look once again to the chat for your predictions on who will win tonight's race. We got some predictions for the poll, amongst those with Shane Wolf, Robinson, Sean Corcoran, and Dominic DeLeo. although they were all dethroned by Eli Green, whose lap time stuck with a 31.697.
Yeah, with the new iRacing update of you can forego your qualifying, everyone has done so. That has not put a time in. So everybody has said that they're done. We have checker flags across everybody in the server. So at any time, we'll get ready to run here. Something iRacing did, I believe, for officials, I think. Jake, what do you think? Does for officials that they did that?
Yeah, I believe so, and it sounds like we might be using it tonight and maybe advancing this session along to the race.
No need holding everybody up if you're not going to put a qualifying lap in, right?
Absolutely. No need.
Let's race.
So if you're still questioning who you would pick to win tonight's race, the winner could come from any position in the field, but in just a moment we will give you your full field rundown, or your full rundown of the qualifying speed and your starting lineup for tonight's race at Kansas. With 110 laps on this 1.5-mile racetrack, the degrees in the turn consist of 20 all the way around, then 11 degrees on the front stretch, and even 5 degrees on the back stretch. And we're looking at a possible fuel run of anywhere from 38 to 41 laps. Qualifying has officially ended, so we will roll out our starting lineup here for tonight's Kansas Cornfield 150, the penultimate race in the playoffs. And that will be led to the green flag by Eli Green, along with last week's winner in Michigan, Dominic DeLeo.
Yeah, row 2, we find Sean Corcoran, the 8th seed, heading into tonight's race. He needs a win to advance to the Final Four next week. He'll roll off from P3. Outside of him is going to be Nicholas Holden, the 87.
In row 3, starting in the 5th position, we got James Shane Wolf, another one of our playoff drivers, and alongside him, Dustin Carroll in the 92.
Row 4, you got the 69 car of Gary Lewis, 1 point out of the Final Four. So he'll have to race his way in tonight. Starting the outside of row 4 is going to be Bobby Tinch in the 66.
Row number 5, it's a row full of playoff drivers with Forrest Smith on the inside and Matthew Robinson on the outside.
Row 6, you got 2 non-playoff drivers in Travis Beckner and Cliff Mullins. Both them looking to steal a win here tonight at Kansas.
Row 7, it's the deepest in the field amongst playoff drivers with Caleb Steimer and starting lines alongside him, the number 51 of Mark Patterson.
Then our final drivers here tonight are going to be Brian Dixon, Rick Christensen, and Rick Ward, completing our full field here tonight, the starting grid. One last time, Harold, if you could, I'm going to put you on the spot. Could you throw that playoff graphic up so we can get an idea of what to watch out for here tonight?
And who to keep an eye on as we see those in red on the right side: Sean Corcoran, Caleb Steimer, Eli Green, and Gary Lewis, all on the outside looking in. Dominic DeLeo is already locked in after last week's win in Michigan. Then James Shane Wolf and Matthew Robinson with both a comfortable margin at the points.
Yep.
And then Forrest Smith, the only one that's on the cusp of missing, with that points gap being low.
Real quick, your real battle tonight for our viewers to keep our eye on is the 84 and the 69, their teammates. Whoever finishes higher amongst them will probably grab that 4th and final spot unless we see a race winner in Eli Green, Caleb Steimer, or Sean Corcoran. So that's an idea of what to watch out for here tonight, Hunters. We're getting set to start our race here at Kansas.
As we see the pace truck now pulling down into Piv Road. And Eli Green leads the field to the green flag here at Kansas.
See a really good start already to the 28 machine there with Eli Green. He's going to jump out to half-second advantage over the 22 Sean Corcoran behind him. Battle starting to form up from 3rd on back. You got James Shane with Dominic DeLeo peeking up high.
Yeah, a big lead there by Eli Green on the 28. And Sean Corcoran leading the field behind in 2nd, but he's already looking at a 1-second gap between he and leader Eli Green.
Yeah, noticing something early here with Dom DeLeo dropping back in a hurry. He qualified on that front row. He's already back to the 5th spot in a quick order there. We see a battle between the teammates, and this is the battle, Hunter, we're going to have to watch all night.
Yeah, one of these guys has to make it, or someone from the outside, or from the outside looking in could win, and then none of these guys would make it. But nonetheless, it's only a 1-point gap between Forrest Smith and Gary Lewis.
Of course, playoff drivers' names are in yellow on the left side of your screen.
Oh, and car in the wall. It's Matthew Robinson.
Oh, Robinson early into the wall here in the 40 machine.
Robinson going to fall back to the 13th position, maybe more. Very early on to see one of our playoff drivers involved in contact with the wall, but looks like he's keeping it going, and we're still green flag here at Kansas.
And by the way, we got the Twitch poll going up again, Hunter. Who's going to win tonight's race? Early favorite in the official poll is James Shainwolf. Right now, he's running 3rd.
Yeah, James Shainwolf almost made it 3 in a row last week in Michigan. Still on a hot streak, which you need to be heading into Phoenix. So we see Dominic DeLeo, last week's winner, the one that moved Shainwolf out of the way for that win, running in the 5th spot. He's the only one in this field running on 0 pressure, so he's just out here logging some laps.
Yeah, no pressure for DeLeo, like you mentioned, locked into the championship for next week at Phoenix. And honestly, just a great story all season long, Hunter. He told me earlier in this week his first ever race on iRacing was he got his set up on a Saturday, and then he made his debut Monday night at Homestead in our league. And it's just pretty incredible to see how much he's been able to adjust and grow so far this season, and now he's going to be racing for a championship at Phoenix.
Absolutely. He and Mark Patterson formed Physicus Motorsports, and again, the foundation laid there, and honestly did not expect to see him contending for a championship because of his point situation being below in the points, but he has progressed throughout the year and got more consistently runs inside the top 10, then inside the top 5, and now he's going to contend for a championship next week at Phoenix.
Still noticing a lot of these guys running the top side of the racetrack now, as DeLeo's going to try to make a pass for the 4th spot on Nicholas Halda down low in turn 3 and 4, but majority of the field running the high line. You see James Shainwolf down there, 2nd place driver, one of the only drivers up front we see primarily using the bottom through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, we'll really get a good look here to see if the top is really that much more of a preferred groove, or we might see the 3rd groove being worked in by Gary Lewis in the back.
He's looking underneath. Halda really close there to the outside wall on the exit of turn 2. And right now, Hunter, 69's got the spot on Forrest Smith for that final 4th playoff spot, but a lot can change with 112 laps here, or excuse me, with 102 laps here left to go tonight.
All right, a couple. So we see some 3 wide action.
Looking 4 wide for a moment.
Yeah, they looked 4 wide. Saw that last week in Michigan. That didn't work out well.
No, but we've seen it a few times this season work out well. Remember that 4 wide pass between Paul Irvin, Matthew Robinson, James Shainwolf, and then here tonight at Kansas. Very similar to that Atlanta-style racetrack in terms of shape and length. So maybe you could see some guys trying to throw some aggressive moves out there as we see the 84 and the 69 now move up inside the top 5.
Yeah, this is the battle to watch on the racetrack. Eli Green's pulled out to a 1.3 second lead between he and Sean Corcoran, and then James Shainwolf 2.1 seconds behind. And then just a little over a second behind him is this battle that we're seeing with Gary Lewis, Forrest Smith, and Dominic DeLeo.
Got some fans trying to cheer on Gary Lewis here tonight, and right now he's got that spot. Curious to see if that 69's got anything for our front runners. And notice the 22 Sean Corcoran starting to reel in Eli Green for that top spot.
Yeah, this is the portion of the race where we might see some comers and goers, those that have short runs in compared to those with long runs in, and Sean Corcoran's been slowly able to chip away at that lead.
Yeah, I think, Eli Green, we've seen a lot of speed this season out of him, but one of the issues we've seen is just
Oh, Brian Dixon's in the wall.
Dixon there in the wall. And just, not oftentimes we see Eli Green up front towards the end of the run. More so it's at the beginning of the runs here as we were watching Travis Beckner get around Don DeLeo.
Travis Beckner now the highest driver in the field, not in the playoffs. So we move to the one that was deepest in the field at the beginning of this run. Caleb Steimer's now worked his way inside the top 10. Started all the way back in 13th, has quickly made some positions up, and he's looking to make another one. So he's looking to the inside of Forrest Smith there for 8th. And then right behind those two, you see the 48 of Robinson, who got into the wall a few laps ago. It's looking like his car's still running all right after riding the turn 3 and 4 wall. Now Robinson is actually going to look for a pass on Forrest Smith, and Smith looking like he might have a run to cross him over, but can't quite. So Robinson moving into 9th, Smith down to 10th. So we're looking at our poll, and James Shamwolf has 60% of the votes for who chat thinks will win tonight's race. Back up front, Eli Green has led since the drop of the green flag. It will be now 14 laps complete.
Yeah, and we noticed that Sean Corcoran started to reel the 28 in. Well, the last few laps, Eli Green's picked it back up a little bit, and he's starting to stretch that margin back over a second. The second place, Sean Corcoran. And Hunter, I still noticed something. The sun hasn't completely set here at Kansas, so a lot can change here from now to the end of this race, even in terms of track temp.
Yeah, we mentioned the track temp was very close to the air temp at around 82 degrees. It was at 84 at the drop of the green flag, and we are going to see that start to trickle down as the sun sets and then the lights come on. Still within the second, though, just barely between Eli Green and Sean Corcoran. Both of these guys needing a win to get in to the championship for Phoenix. One thing I'm starting to notice, these lap times, especially the last one from Eli Green, it's over a second slower than his fastest lap of the race. He ran a 31.977, and his last lap this time around was a 32.994. So already 17 laps in, we're starting to see just how much the tires wear off here. And we're not even halfway into a run yet. The fuel run here looking at around 38 to 41 laps, so we could see some guys come in early and try and split this into thirds. Sarah likes to point out, or we could see some drivers try and stretch it.
I think they're going to go to try to get to 40, 80, and then 30 to the end. I don't think we'll be able to. We can't split this into 2 stops, though. Not enough there. And we might get some guys coming down at, 20, 27, 28 to split it into 4s. So we'll see. Got 3 sets of tires in the pit, so they can come in as that many times to change out tires, but kind of want to keep one in reserve if you're able.
Yeah, and I really do think that the tire management's going to be key tonight, because we've seen just how much the speeds have fallen off since the start of this race. They were qualifying at a 31.6. I have Gary Lewis right now running well behind the 33-second bracket in terms of lap time. So a 1.5 seconds of fall off just in 19 laps is pretty substantial. So I think tires are going to be crucial tonight.
So I think we missed the 22, might have clipped the wall or got loose going through a corner, because he lost a good bit of ground between he and Eli Green, and now he just lost second. Oh, the caution's out on the racetrack. Looks like the 92, Dustin Carroll.
Yeah, it sounds like contact with Brian Dixon perhaps might have triggered the event there. We're taking a look here at a replay.
These guys were running back in the 13th and 14th position. So we see the 92 of Carroll just behind the 33 of Dixon. Dixon starting to slide up the racetrack, and the 92 coming down. Let's see the 92 try to slide in front of the 33 and could not do it. And then hooks Dustin Carroll into the wall. And then that was Rick Christensen just giving the 33 a little bit of a tap there.
Yeah. Pretty substantial damage too on the 92 there, Dustin Carroll. Brian Dixon able to pretty much skirt away with not a lot of damage on his car. We saw the tap between him and Rick Christensen after the crash, but they were able to save it and keep on moving going forward.
Yeah, that's one of the differences we're seeing in this car compared to the trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup cars, whereas this one is built as the old Gen 4 car.
We just had a crazy move getting onto pit road. Eli Green came down and James Shanewolf duped him out there and got the lap lead. So Shanewolf staying out on track with Sean Corker on Travis Beckner and Forrest Smith, but everybody else coming down to get 4 tires and fuel.
Every point matters, and leading that lap just got James Shanewolf another bonus point. We'll get a look at a replay here just to show you exactly the move that was made from James Shanewolf.
Yeah, so they're catching up to the pace car here. Try to speed it up for you guys when we can. And you see when they get back around here to finally be able to come down pit road. Just a fake from Shanewolf. Basically, I think you're right, Hunter. I think he's trying to stay out to maintain that gap that he has to the playoff cutoff, and he's just trying to get a lap lead, add another bonus point there.
Duped down low and then duped right off. Great fake there from the 31 of James Shanewolf as Sean Corcoran, Travis Beckner, and Forrest Smith all stayed out. Then the first one to come off pit road is Eli Green in the 28.
I'm shocked there because I was thinking maybe they might come down pit road. Like, James Shanewolf got the lap lead and then comes down pit road now to get the get the fresh tires, but they're actually all staying out. So Travis Beckner, Forrest Smith, all in that same strategy.
Maybe having that extra tire, they're thinking that they need it at the end and they don't need to take it right yet.
Yeah, I think just with the laps, though. I mean, tonight's race is only 110 laps, and it's only going to be 2 stops they can stretch it on. So I would be kind of shocked to see that these guys are concerned about tire sets, but you might be right there, Harold. They might be trying to think ahead of time.
Well, they go 40, 80, and then the finish they'll have a one set of tires in their back pocket.
Yep.
Who knows? It might be the end. It might be. We've seen that happen already once or twice here on, because we don't have a lot of tires laying around. And we've had guys put tires on at the very end and end up shooting themselves to the front of the field. It's early on. Good time to gamble early instead of doing it later.
And so we see the 31 of Shanewolf staying out with that move, duping the 28 of Eli Green into pitting along with a large majority of the field as the pace truck rolls into pit road. Shanewolf is the control car. Sean Corcoran, Travis Beckner, and Forrest Smith all staying out. Got to keep an eye on those guys as we go back green in Kansas.
It's going to be super interesting to see how these old tires fare with these guys on fresh. Keep my eye on Eli Green there, the 28. He's the first guy on fresh tires, picking his way up through the pack.
It's already up to third and looking at second there in the back underneath the 45 of Beckner as they go into 3. No contest whatsoever there.
So Green from 5th to 2nd in one lap on fresh tires there, Hunter.
Yeah, who knows? We could see something like this at the very end. Could be a short 5-lap run to the finish or even a green-white checker run to the finish. Right behind Matthew Robinson. He was in the wall early in the race, and now he's looking at third from Travis Beckner as the 28 of Eli Green looking low, going into 3 and rolling off turn 4. He's going to be the leader of the race once again.
A good move there from Eli Green. He wasn't overly aggressive trying to work his way through the guys on slower tires. He was pretty patient, managed to get around the top 5 in quick order, but he didn't waste his stuff up too much, I don't think. But one thing he does have to look out for, Hunter, is he's bringing some company along with him.
Yeah, he's bringing Robinson and Gary Lewis even. So he's looking for third from Shane Wolf. And Caleb Steimer inside the top 5.
Caleb now looking to somehow manage to get his way to the Final Four as well in that number 18. Robinson looks quick.
Yeah, even after hitting the wall.
Last time around, Robinson about half a tenth quicker than race leader Eli Green, and he was still making a pass on the top, so.
Feels like one of those rare occurrences where a driver can hit the wall and somehow it makes their car better. I think we might have seen that with the 40 of Robinson.
You know, I think there's two things to that. I don't think he hit the wall a ton, really. I think it was pretty light contact. He rode it for a while, like you mentioned, but I don't think it was going to be anything to add a substantial amount of time. As Eli Green, he fires right back with the quickest lap of the race so far tonight. So Eli's certainly thinking he's got something to contend with. But and then the other portion to that statement there, Hunter, is that these ARCA cars are pretty much known on iRacing as like some of the most forgiving cars in terms of damage. So you can bring it down pit road and get it fixed up, and it's almost as good as it was brand new.
Also, no incident points, so it wasn't that hard of a hit registered by the game itself.
Yeah.
Ooh. Interesting is towards the back there, battle for fourth between Caleb Steimer and Nicholas Hall. They just switched spots. Yeah, they are swapping positions.
No love lost between these two.
No, not after the finish at Richmond. Now we see Dominic DeLeo looking low underneath the 18, going into 3. DeLeo looking to clear the 18 and might even challenge the 87 for the spot. He's looking to pass him here on the front stretch, running the apron. Nicholas Holder keeping his green 87 on the outside.
Another thing here to note, Hunter, is DeLeo completes that pass on Nick Holda. Those guys that ended up choosing to stay out and not take tires. Shane Will's fallen all the way back to 9th place right now. You see Forrest Smith all the way back to 13th. So definitely not the strategy to stay up front for those guys. But like Harold said, they might be thinking long term for the end of this race.
Could be the case. And one of those drivers that stayed out also was the 22 Sean Corcoran, which in his case, you got to do what you can do because at the points gap he's at, he basically needs a win to get in. So he's looking to do whatever he can to get that win, and why not roll with Shane Wolf? He's been one of the hottest drivers in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series this season.
Gary Lewis wanting to get involved in this front little battle going on and gonna either help push the 40 towards it or get around him. But Gary Lewis looking strong for the race here tonight at Kansas.
Yeah, Gary Lewis, we saw that saying he would wreck his teammate to make it to the championship 4, and looking like that's not going to happen, at least just yet. As he, Robinson, and Eli Green are in this little 3-car pack here.
Well, the call for Gary Lewis to come down and take tires is pretty noticeable when Forrest Smith, his teammate, did the opposite. So you got to think, even though they are teammates and they might have the same crew chief tonight, they're electing different strategies that could set them up for a completely different finishing result tonight. And like I said, going in, that's the battle to watch between the 69 and the 84.
And meanwhile, back here, Sean Corcoran in the 22 holding that 10th spot. Got Dominic DeLeo's teammate Mark Patterson. They're close. Racing with the 37 of Cliff Mullins.
And the 22 on old tires, Hunter, he's falling back.
Yep, falling back indeed. And just behind those 2 or 3 that you see, the 33 of Brian Dixon, he was given the EOL for that caution. He's already driving his way up to 12th with possibly a shot at 11th. So now we move closer towards the front here. The battle for 6th and up. Got Bobby Tinch there on the bottom. Caleb Steimer on the outside, and then behind those two, the 19 of Rick Christensen.
I was going to say, how about old Mark Patterson making his way into the top 10? Best career finish so far this season for Mark Patterson was a 14th back at Richmond. Tonight, maybe he can be in position to snag his first career top 10.
Whoa, some slices and dicing here between Tinch and Steimer. Oh, 66 got a little loose there into turn 3, but Steimer closing back on that bumper. Oh, very, very tight battles here.
Battle's closing up for the lead as well. About 3/10 off between Robinson and Eli Green. Robinson not quite there yet, but we could see a move maybe here in the next few laps for the 40 of Robinson.
Yeah, the top three are all running within half a second of each other. They're all running that top groove. Lewis closer to the bumper of Robinson. Dominic DeLeo starting to close his way to the top three as well.
Remember, this is a must-win for Eli Green tonight, Hunter, if he wants to make it to the Final Four. But the only guy he can't afford to try to steal that win away is the 69 of Gary Lewis, or the 40 of Matthew Robinson for that matter. But those guys are racing for some critical positions right now, because if Eli Green does end up winning this race, it would knock the 69 and the 84 out of the Final Four.
I mean, we saw what Dominic DeLeo would do last week for a win. Who knows what Eli Green might do for a win as they're going side by side in the turn 1 here. Robinson on the bottom, Eli Green on the outside with Gary Lewis watching in the back.
I like what Robinson's done this run, though.
Ooh, he's trying to slide up. Couldn't do it. Eli Green might have clipped the wall there coming out, too. He was really close to doing so.
He's going to prevail on the top with a good run down the back straightaway. So it's a good thing he was able to hold on to it. He didn't let Robinson squeeze up. He was able to force the issue, make the pass back around Robinson, and now Robinson's got to try to fight off Gary Lewis.
Yeah, Gary Lewis looking for that second spot with the preferred groove, the momentum, all going with him on the outside. Robinson going to slide up right behind, so Gary Lewis up to P2. A little loose there coming off turn 2, but nonetheless still holds the spot. Oh, he's in the wall. Gary Lewis in the wall. Robinson down low.
Similar to what we saw Robinson do earlier. Huh?
Yeah, very similar. Almost identical in the same spot as well. Meanwhile, boys, Dominic DeLeo is the fastest car on the racetrack once again. He's closed that gap to the top 3 from 2 seconds back.
Yeah, you're right. And he's substantially faster. He ran a 32.7 last lap. Race leader Eli Green ran a 33.1. So like you mentioned there, almost a half a second quicker there for the 21 of DeLeo, who's now closing in on the back bumper of the 69 of Gary Lewis for third.
And all these guys in the top 4 and 5, they all pitted on the same lap. So it's just really showing the speed that the 21 that Dominic DeLeo has.
Yeah, the long run speed's there for the 21. It's not there for the 31 right now. Again, he's on old tires with the 84 and the 22 and the 45. So those drivers are dropped way back.
Drop back to these guys. Shane Wolf is leading the group of the 41 lap drivers in the 12th spot. See them coming down pit lane anytime now.
So that is Shane Wolf, Forrest Smith, Sean Corcoran, and Travis Beckner all running 12th, 14th, 15th, and 16th at the moment. Coverage of tonight's Araya Swift Lifestyle Pro Series race at Kansas is brought to you by Northern Capital. We would like to thank Russ and Steve Anderson of Northern Capital for their continuous support of the Northern Capital Truck Series and from all of us here at Araya, which you can watch tomorrow night's broadcast of the Northern Capital Truck Series, as they will also tackle on Kansas Speedway in their penultimate race as well to the championship race at Phoenix, where they will also cut the playoff field from 8 to 4. It's going to be a fun one. Make sure you tune in 8:30 Eastern on the Rad Twitch channel.
Closing back up for the lead. Robinson starting to reel in Eli Green ever so slightly. No contest from Gary Lewis anymore that he has to worry about. So the battle for third's actually closed up as well. Leo on the back bumper of the 69 now, as the 40's on the back bumper of the 28.
Yeah, I'm not sure if DeLeo might be working with Oh, as we see Robinson go high, look low now down the front stretch, and once again, side by side for the lead going into one.
Oh, and he's really going to send it in there. Slid up the track some, but Eli Green again able to fend off the run from Matthew Robinson.
And that's exactly what Gary Lewis wants to see, because it seems like he and Dominic DeLeo, although they're side by side now, it looked like they were going to try and work together in a two-car draft of some sort to get their way back up front. But the 40 of Robinson looking low again on the lead as they come off of 4.
And DeLeo is able to grab the third spot down low. Now Robinson trying to grab the top spot down low. We'll see if he tries to send it down at the turn 1 and 2 again. He does. He slides up some, and again, Eli Green's going to motor by on the top.
He's staying in line with that middle groove. Just the corner exit that got him there, but just trying to make that middle groove work because bottom just does not want to stick. So now Robinson back on the outside, going to generate some momentum, maybe get another run here at it. Gary Lewis has actually got back in front of Dominic DeLeo. Not sure if the 21 got loose, but nonetheless, the 69 finds himself back into third and running that top groove once again.
Forrest Smith has hit pit road, like Harold mentioned, those guys that had stayed out. James Shainwolf now coming in, as well as the 45 of Travis Beckner.
And the only one to stay out is that 22 Sean Corcoran that you see on your screen. Entered in the points 8th coming into tonight's race. Had pretty fast times in practice and a decent run in qualifying, but that strategy call there, along with Shainwolf, Beckner, and Smith, who knows if that'll play out to the 22's favor.
So DeLeo again gets by the 69 of Gary Lewis, and up front, it's the 40 of Matthew Robinson making another charge at Eli Green. He's not letting them get away easy.
Having a little fun with it.
I honestly, I think he's just not able to work the bottom through 1 and 2, which is where he's trying to make the pass, and Eli's just using the top to his advantage and getting those massive runs down the back straightaway. And you see it there going through the tri-oval. Eli Green is actually protecting the high side entering turn 1.
That's the lane you want to be in going into the corner because it carries so much more momentum coming off corner exit that the one. So we saw the 40 get a little loose there. We saw the run on the bottom just can't do it, and then the middle groove works all the way up until corner exit we saw just a couple laps ago. So the 40 trying to get on that outside approach. So he's got a nice run here.
Yeah, he does. But again, is the bottom going to work for him down here in 1 and 2? But he's got a massive run on race leader.
He might try to slide up in front of him right here, and he will. 40 of Matthew Robinson into the lead.
How does Eli Green respond is the big question. Is he able to muster up a run to get back around the 40?
I think he might have used up all of his tires. 28 might have.
Well, these guys are going to be coming down pit road in about 10 to 15 laps for their second set, as Sean Corcoran is on pit road now, wrapping up his pit stop, and he's back out onto the racetrack.
You see Dominic DeLeo now catch up to the 28 of Eli Green. Gary Lewis, once again, lurking in the background, just 1.2 seconds back from race leader Matthew Robinson.
And Eli now, once he got behind Robinson, you were right, Hunter. It's like he's starting to fall off. He might have used up his tires a little bit too early on in that run. DeLeo is under attack, or attacking Eli Green, I should say, for that second spot. He's peaking low, trying to make the same move Matthew Robinson did down here on the front stretch.
Yeah, not too far behind. Gary Lewis once again lurking. And then back just 4 car lengths back from this, but still trying to get that top going, get some sort of a run to get back into this.
And I'm curious here as to what the strategy is going to be between the 28 of Eli Green and the 69 of Gary Lewis. Both those guys really have to
he's sliding.
win this race. And for Eli Green right now, he's under attack for second again. If anything, this is great for Gary Lewis, because as long as Eli Green doesn't win and the 69 beats the 84, he'll have that 4th and final playoff spot.
So they're door-to-door going through 1 and 2. Dominic DeLeo on the inside, Eli Green on the outside. And the run will prevail for Eli Green in the 28. Dominic DeLeo going to slide back in line, and Gary Lewis now within a second of race leader Matthew Robinson. All 4 of these guys can throw him in a blanket all inside 1 second.
That's a really good run through turn 3 and 4 there for Eli Green. He was able to close up a little bit on Matthew Robinson, giving up a little bit of time down the straightaway, but his entrance to turn 3 that time around was really good. Look at, whoa, watch out. Looked like Dominic Leo was about to send it down there under the 20.
Gary Lewis in the wall.
Oh, I believe Robinson actually hit the wall as well up front. He did on the exit of turn 2.
Oh, here we go. Green down on the bottom. Dominic DeLeo trying to get underneath him. Green going to slide up in front of Robinson. Dominic DeLeo now looking for the lead as they come off turn 4. A 3-car battle for the lead going on between DeLeo, Green, and Robinson. DeLeo's going to lead the lap that time by. Almost contact made between DeLeo and Green as they go into turn 1. Green and Robinson on the outside. Dominic DeLeo down low, trying to come up in front of the 28. And the 28's in the wall. Eli Green clips the wall. The 21 will clear him now down the back.
Green didn't give up a lot of time there. You mentioned it. He slapped the wall. Didn't lose a lot of time on the racetrack, and he's going to keep charging for this race lead and try to muscle it away from Dominic DeLeo.
Yep, battle seems to have calmed down for the moment. But Robinson once again on the bumper of Eli Green. So these 3 roll off into turn 1 and 2 once again. As we approach our halfway point of the race, we're going to take you in through the top 10 and see if your favorite driver is running inside the top 10 and how they're doing. And that's brought to you by Swift Lifestyles. Fans, be sure to visit our sponsor, Swift Lifestyles, for clean supplements that help improve your focus in gaming. Use a discount code on your screen, AREA iRacing, AREA iRacing, for 15% off your entire order. We will once again like to give a big thanks to Swift Lifestyles for their continuous support of the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. After that battle seemed to have died down for the lead, although still going on for second, Dominic DeLeo finds himself as the race leader, won last week at Michigan, entered into tonight's race with 0 pressure. So he's the only driver secured a spot into the Championship 4, and he's driven inside the top 5 and into the lead. It's right behind. Looks like Eli Green's pulled away from Matthew Robinson for the moment, but Eli Green has led the most laps tonight, and he is basically in a must-win situation. So if he does not win, he will not be in to the Championship 4 at Phoenix.
Behind him, Matthew Robinson honestly has been the second quickest car at the beginning of the run and the ender part of the runs, the closing parts of the run, I should say, as he's making that move around Eli Green right now. Robinson a few laps led tonight, and he really is looking for some momentum. He's kind of fallen off a little bit since these playoffs have started. He's had some bad runs, but hopefully tonight he's able to build up that momentum heading into the Final Four next week at Phoenix. Right behind him, Gary Lewis in the 4th spot. Gary, another one of those guys we're watching on the playoff battle. He came in 1 point behind teammate Forrest Smith to that 4th and final playoff spot entering next week. Right now he's got that and then some over the 84. He's got himself a Final Four spot.
The Daytona winner, as he's called, Nicholas Halda, won the first race ever in any of the O'Reilly Leagues. He's running 5th, the highest amongst those not in the playoffs. Really haven't talked about him much tonight, although he did have a little bit of history between he and Caleb Steimer heading into Richmond. They battled for position and nothing happened, so good to see some good clean hard racing there. And right behind him, Rick Christensen, the 19, having a solid run. Running P6, he gave the 33 of Brian Dixon a little tap there from our first yellow, but he's driven inside the top 10 and just 1 spot shy of that top 5.
We did have a pass for the lead, by the way. For second. Eli Green able to get around Matthew Robinson again. Back here in 7th place, Brian Dixon, sneaky, quick. He's kind of climbed his way up inside the top 10. Now he's well within the top 10, running 7th. Right behind him, Mark Patterson, the 51. Best career finish of 14th, and tonight he's besting that by quite a bit. He's looking for his first career top 10 at Kansas.
Looking to replicate the fast speed from teammate Dominic DeLeo as he's got, saw the 66 there, Bobby Tinch just move up.
Here starting, Hunter. We might have to cut this here because Eli Green, 2nd place driver, is on pit road now.
Yeah, Bobby Tinch in the 66 running inside the top 10, running in 9th, and then right behind him, Rick Ward running inside the top 10. Good to see Rick Ward having a good run in the 34. And you mentioned that we got pit stops there on the racetrack. Eli Green is in pit road.
Cliff Mullins as well in the 37 car. He came down and he's made his pit stop. It's going to turn to Dominic DeLeo now to see when he decides to come down pit road. It's not going to be this time. Matthew Robinson as well will be staying on the racetrack.
Same can be said for Gary Lewis and Nicholas Halda. The next car back would be Rick Christensen, see if he chooses to come down pit road. And we see the 37 of Cliff Mullins re-entering the racetrack. This should give us a good look at just how important these tires are, because Dominic DeLeo currently going on 40 laps on his run, and Cliff Mullins got a fresh set from pit road.
I would see, if it's feasible, I would see Dominic DeLeo trying to get this thing to 70 if he's able to stretch it. That way he has enough fuel for this one last stop.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'll even need to go quite to 70. I think maybe once you get past 66, there's potential he could come down and get his fuel then and might be good to the end. So I agree with you, though, Harold. I think that's what these guys are looking, is for this to be their final pit stop of the night. And it really puts James Shanewolf, Forrest Smith, and those guys that did not pit under the caution in a tough spot, because they also have to come down pit road again.
Speaking of coming down pit road, Gary Lewis and Rick Ward have both come down pit road. So we'll see if Gary Lewis has any repairs that he wants to take, because I know he's scraped the outside wall a couple of times tonight. Looks like he's off pit road. And now, because of his pit stop, he is behind his teammate Forrest Smith now by 2 points, and they entered tonight 1 point separating he and Forrest Smith. Gary Lewis was on the outside looking in. Forrest Smith had that 1 point cushion, but it's going to be close to the checkered flag between those two. Meanwhile, Dominic DeLeo continues to stretch out his lead of 2 seconds over Matthew Robinson. Nicholas Halda running third, Christensen fourth, and Brian Dixon inside the top 5. Very solid speed from the 33 after that caution, especially given the AOL. So you see the 21 stay out, and we're going to see the 40 come in. Matthew Robinson going to make his way onto pit road. Nicholas Halda going to stay out.
By the way, Hunter, from that contact with the wall we saw with Gary Lewis, update, no damage on that race car on pit road.
Huh.
Matthew Robinson also coming down pit road now to make his second pit stop of the night.
Very odd to see, because it looks like that car just hugs the wall, doesn't want to let go of it. Dominic DeLeo going to stay out another lap. I think we're going to see the 87.
I think Dominic DeLeo showing us that, you know, he can get to the end on this last pit stop. So good looking at the number 21 and see what he can do here.
I think he might have heard you, Harold. He's looking like he's going to stretch it to 70, although he's going low this time as soon as I say that. So
Yeah,
Dominic DeLeo, he might be out of fuel. Yeah, he might be out of fuel. I was saying it was a weird approach there through turn 3, and running on fumes, it seems like the 21 of Dominic DeLeo stretched it to as far as he could. 45 laps seems to be the case. Nicholas Halda will join him down pit road, along with Rick Christensen and Brian Dixon as well.
And no, he's not out of fuel. He's pacing down pit road properly. So interesting there to see the approach, though, Hunter, like you mentioned. Definitely, he's not out of fuel or was sputtering there. He gave up a lot of time just with a bad pit entry there. But a little curious to see how he's able to make it up with fresher tires.
Meanwhile, the 28 of Eli Green will resume control of the lead. So he has a 5-second gap now between he and James Shanewolf.
But Eli Green will have to pit again. Be 49 laps would be what he needs to get to the end. We know 45 is the max, unless something changes that with the caution or so. Then we'll have to come down for green flag pit stop.
And the other thing, too, is I'm curious, you know, we already saw Eli on the first few runs. Long run speed, not really the favorite for Eli Green. He's not really got a lot of long run speed in that car. With the advantage he has, though, over James Shanewolf. James Shanewolf actually has older tires than Eli Green, but I'm really looking back towards Matthew Robinson in 4th and Dominic DeLeo back there in 6th to see if they can make up that margin with their fresher tires to Eli Green, they might be able to cut into his lead pretty quickly.
Look at that. Not only that, but if this thing potentially goes green to the end, could see someone like Matthew Robinson or Dominic DeLeo be close enough to stretching it on fuel. Although you do mention Eli Green, James Shane Wolf, those guys are going to have to come down pit road again along with Forrest Smith. So really, gotta see if tires going to be a situation there at the end.
Yeah, and thankfully, this is the importance of winning here, Hunter. James Shane Wolf, we all documented he's going to have to make an extra pit stop still compared to the rest of the field. And he has a playoff margin that grew during the playoffs. Those few wins he's gotten in the playoffs has added to his playoff point total. If it wasn't for that, we could potentially be talking about a catastrophic collapse there for the 31 and him missing out on the Final Four. But because of that cushion he was able to build up with a few wins in the playoffs, he's still looking like he'll easily coast his way to the Final Four next week at Phoenix.
The battle for fourth heating up between teammates Gary Lewis and Forrest Smith is actually they're going to pass the 31 Shane Wolf. Gary Lewis is. Does it look like they were close to battling there?
Well, DeLeo's got the freshest tires right now out of all these guys on the racetrack, so he'll easily fly by the 84 there and the 31 now, James Shane Wolf. It's just going to be about seeing if DeLeo can make up that almost 10-second gap he's got between him and Eli Green.
We'll get a good look at the difference in lap times between Eli Green and Matthew Robinson. Difference on those tires about 5 laps or so, but not only that, but 21 of Dominic DeLeo as well. Difference between he and Eli Green, 7 laps on those tires.
I'll tell you what, though, Hunter. How about the win from Dominic DeLeo last week to lock himself in the playoffs? He came out here tonight and he's led a lot of laps. He looks extremely fast here tonight as well. The confidence on that 21 the last few weeks has just been growing and growing. The momentum is on his side. I'm really curious to see how Phoenix goes next week for him. He might be able to steal a championship.
Oh, absolutely. And driver that I can compare that to would be Tyler Hallman in the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series. A similar boat between the two, as both got their first career win in Araya last week at Michigan, while both being the 8 seed. But both started out slow to the year, and then they start to get progressively better, more comfortable, and really it's just that one solid finish that a driver needs that could spark a momentum push for that championship. We saw that with Tyler Hallman at Charlotte. Needed to have a good finish to make it to the playoffs. Got his first podium of the season, first top 5. And then he's just built off that, and it's what led to his win at Michigan. So he will also be entering the race at Kansas Thursday night for the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series, like Dominic DeLeo, with zero pressure and just looking to continue to log laps. Forrest Smith now down pit road. The gap has closed between Eli Green and Matthew Robinson at just under 6 seconds, and the lap times that last time by 32.8 for Eli Green, Matthew Robinson 32.4. Now we'll get a refresh this time by Eli Green 33.1. Matthew Robinson still 32.9. So he's still faster than 28 of Eli Green as we see lap times down. Dominic DeLeo faster than our top 2 at a 32.3.
He's gonna have to maintain that margin though, Hunter, for about 10 laps of being over a half second quicker, just to get within range of Eli Green. Then passing him is a completely different story. So I think the key thing is going to be if Eli Green can make it to the end on fuel. If not, though, if he is able to make it to the end on fuel, I should say, he's set himself up in pretty good position.
Yeah, only time will tell. We're on lap 77 to 110 here at Kansas for the Araya Swift Lifestyle Pro Series, the penultimate race to the championship round at Phoenix, as we're looking to cut our playoff field from 8 to 4. We know Dominic DeLeo is locked in. James Shane Wolf has a good margin. Matthew Robinson has a good margin. It's just that 4th spot we don't know yet. Eli Green was on the outside looking in. He's currently leading. If he goes on to win, he would punch his ticket to Phoenix. Or if Gary Lewis would win, he would punch his ticket into Phoenix. But really, it's going to come down between Forrest Smith and Gary Lewis, because that was the points gap we were looking at coming into tonight's race. Forrest Smith, 1 point to the good. Gary Lewis, 1 point out. It's going to be a battle between those two teammates, and kind of seen a flip-flop here because of the difference in pit calls after the first yellow between Gary Lewis coming into pit and then Forrest Smith electing to stay out.
Man, Hunter, the last 2 laps, Dominic DeLeo has been 9/10 quicker than race leader Eli Green. The tire is clearly starting to fall off on the 28, which is what I was worried about. And Dominic DeLeo is just closing him in at an absolutely rapid rate. You see him down now to a 4.5-second advantage. It was all the way up to 10 seconds just a few laps ago.
Just shows how fast the 21 is.
A lot of lap traffic here for Eli Green as well, and I believe Sean Corcoran there in the 22 might be on fresh tires trying to work his way around the leader.
Him, Forrest Smith, Travis Beckner, pretty sure they're regretting that call of staying out early on, although they do have a fresh set of tires in case there's a yellow at the very end. Pretty sure all 3 of those guys are regretting it at the moment.
DeLeo's closing in on Robinson now for second at a rapid rate there as well. He's only 7/10 back. He'll probably make that pass next time around.
Yep, Dominic DeLeo, the fastest car on the racetrack once again. He showed it last week at Michigan by getting the win. And who knows, he could head into Phoenix with a 2-race win streak.
Imagine that, right? I mean, who just would have thought? We saw his first race at Homestead, and I don't know if Dom, I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but he was well off pace with a lot of these guys like Robinson. And now tonight, I mean, just the way he's been able to adjust and adapt all season long, he's going to be flying by Robinson here in about a lap or two. It's just been a crazy season for him, but just a lot of improvement out of that 21 car.
The gap between the leader, 2.5 seconds between he and Matthew Robinson. And then Dominic DeLeo just behind. Gary Lewis still running a solid 4th, but in order to make the playoffs, he would need that 28 of Eli Green to finish in the 2nd spot or worse. Speaking of battle for 2nd, Dominic DeLeo down low, Robinson on the outside. They're rolling the 1 and 2. Dominic DeLeo's going to have the spot and roll on the outside, and now under 2 seconds between he and race leader Eli Green.
And 28 laps to go. Still a lot of time for things to happen here on the racetrack. The question marks with Eli Green, is he able to make it to the end on fuel? Probably not, it's looking like, but Dominic DeLeo still closing in regardless, and we believe the 21 will certainly have enough fuel to make it to the end. Shane Wolf on pit road.
Shane Wolf just entered pit road.
This is his final stop of the night. Just not what he was hoping for, like you said, Hunter. Those guys that stayed out on the first caution probably regretting that decision a little bit with all the green flag laps we've had thereafter.
He did lead a lap to get that bonus point, but
Yeah, that might
he
be
only
critical.
he only had a 12-point gap.
Yeah, no, that's what I said, Hunter. And that 12-point gap, half of that came from the last round of the playoffs where he got 2 wins. Eli Green still trying to pick his way through some lap traffic here. This time it's the 37 of Cliff Mullins on the bottom of the racetrack, and you see that orange car in the back of your picture there, Dominic DeLeo, closing in on race leader Eli Green here with 25 laps to go when they hit the stripe.
21 is on rails. Pretty sure Eli Green looking in his mirror. Oh, load heat coming. That 21 car at Dominic DeLeo has caught up to the bumper of Eli Green. He is the fastest car on the racetrack, but as you mentioned, Drake, catching him is one thing, passing him is another. We saw it last week at Michigan where he could drive up to the bumper of James Shane Wolf, but couldn't quite figure out a way to get around the 31 machinist. Now he's looking to get below the 28 here coming off turn 4. Difference in the tires about 7 laps. Eli Green going to hold the outside. And Dominic DeLeo going to back off a bit, get in line as they approach turn 1.
Leo now, he looked low, wasn't able to make the move there. He's going to run high out of turn 2 and get a good run down the back.
Yeah, it looked like the 28 might have gone a bit too high there coming out of turn 2, but kept it out of the walls. We're going to ride on the roof, and now he's going to make his move. Dominic DeLeo down low. Eli Green on the outside. Dominic DeLeo's going to lead this lap and complete the pass on Eli Green. Dominic DeLeo looking to make it 2 in a row after winning last weekend Michigan, and this would put him in a great position to win the championship next week at Phoenix if he could pull this off.
So our points update once again. James Shane Wolf came in with a 16-point cushion right now. He's running 15th at the moment, so enough to comfortably make it to the next round. Matthew Robinson was our 3rd seed, plus 12 coming into tonight. He's running 2nd, so he's pretty much locked into the next round.
Eli Green's on pit road. Sorry, Eli Green just went on the pit road.
Oh, wow. So he knew he wasn't going to make it, and he decided to try to make up some of his losses now by pitting about halfway here to the end with 20 to go.
Crew Chief Harold, your thoughts on this call by Eli Green?
So you knew that he hit, like you said, he was passed. He's got to get new rubber. He needs fuel. He's going to do fuel 4 tire stop. Hope for something to change. Going to have to get as many positions as he can. Hope for a late yellow caution, or soon as he gets back off, is probably the best bet for the 28. But either way, he did not have the gas to get it to the end.
Well, now he's going to have to get in front of Cliff Mullins because he just passed him on the racetrack, and that is the first car 1 lap down, that 10th spot. So if the yellow were to come out, Cliff Mullins would get the free pass.
But we saw how quick Eli is on the short runs, and putting on this last set of tires for him with 20 laps to go, I mean, that could be a good strategy for him if he is able to get back on the lead lap here somehow, and then also set himself up for the finish with a lot of those guys that have already put on their last set a lot earlier in this run. But right now, everything's looking good for Dominic DeLeo there, Hunter, as I was kind of touching on the playoff battle still. That 4th spot was up for grabs between the 84, who came in 1 point over Gary Lewis right now. But Gary Lewis doing a heck of a job running top 5 tonight. He would be the 4th and final driver in our championship 4.
I was going to say that 4th spot up for grabs in the race as well. Rick Christensen going on the outside, passing Gary Lewis for that 4th spot. Gary Lewis running 5th at the moment, and just behind him, about 7 seconds back, is that 18th of Caleb Steimer with a solid run, but would like to see him a few positions further to see the 18 have a shot at going into Phoenix as a championship 4 driver. Now we see the 28 of Eli Green with fresh rubber, freshest tires out of anyone in the field. Currently 11th at the moment, and he is about 3 seconds back from the 37 of Cliff Mullins.
Yeah, and just a couple corners behind race leader Dominic DeLeo as well. So there is a pretty good chance he's going to be able to catch Dominic DeLeo during this run and be able to unlap himself the hard way, as they like to say, and just manually pass the leader, not really hope for a free pass. But he's got a little bit of work to do. He's going to have to catch up to him still. But the lap times oh my gosh, can't even talk. The lap times favor Eli Green by a good margin. That last lap, the 21 of Dominic DeLeo ran a 33.3. Eli Green running in the 32-second bracket.
Well, we're within 20 laps to go here at Kansas, and these last 20 laps or so will be brought to you by Simms Speed Shop. We would like to thank Simms Speed Shop for their continuous support of the Simms Speed Shop Cup Series this season in Orion. Racers can visit their website at www.simspeedshop.com to find multiple items to complete their virtual racing subs, such as button boxes, wheels, racing gear, and much, much more. That is www.simspeedshop.com. You can catch the Simms Speed Shop Cup Series every Thursday night on the Orion Twitch channel at 8:30 Eastern, but we've only got 2 more races left in the season, so make sure you tune in. Got a playoff run as well that's going to head into Kansas.
Yep. I'm looking forward to the 1.5 mile racetrack and what it'll do with these Cup cars on Thursday night. Tomorrow night, we got the Tough Trucks, the Northern Capital Truck Series back out here, and then Wednesday night, the Lodge Box Series with the Xfinity cars. Matthew Robinson just tagged the wall coming out of turn 2 from 2nd, and Eli Green just squeezed in between him and the wall for that position on the racetrack. Again, Eli Green still 1 lap down, trying to catch up to the race leader. Caleb
Steimer's down pit road.
Caleb Steimer on pit road. And he's coming in to get his final stop for fuel and 4 fresh tires.
Something to continue to keep our eye on as these drivers come down pit road.
Again, as we have 15 laps to go here, our current final four next week at Phoenix as they run would be race leader Dominic DeLeo, second place Matthew Robinson, third place Gary Lewis, and then James Shanewolf down there in 13th. Those four drivers would make up our final four next week, racing for a championship. If the race were to end right now, again, a lot can change in these next 14 laps.
Absolutely. A caution could come out at any moment and change the dynamic of this finish. As we see Rick Ward come up in front of the 21 of DeLeo. And then just in front of him is the 92 of Dustin Carroll, involved in that first and only caution of the race so far. Currently running 17th, 4 laps down, and Rick Ward running 16th, 2 laps down.
13 laps to go here, Hunter. I think DeLeo's looking pretty strong, but I've seen Robinson do this a lot to James Shanewolf. When he was the leader, he just kind of stalk him there for a few laps, and then towards the back half of the run, it's like he turns it on and he'll start reeling them in and does a little bit better of a job saving tires. The only advantage right now I would give DeLeo is that he actually has fresher tires than Robinson. He came in about 5 laps after him.
Yeah, as we were watching the 31 of Shane Wolf, this is battle for position on the racetrack, even though they're 1 lap down. Shane Wolf passing Travis Beckner on the outside as the pit call from Forrest Smith, James Shanewolf, Travis Beckner, and Sean Corcoran did not work in their favor as they are all 1 lap down, trying to find any way to get back into this race.
How about third place, though, Hunter? Nick Halda in the 87, man. He's had a rough stretch these last few weeks, but made it into the playoffs with that win at Daytona. And he's had speed all season long. He's just had some bad luck and some things not go his way. Tonight, he's put everything together, and he's inside the top 3. Really strong run there for the 87 for JW Racing and that Rogue Energy team. He's looking good out here.
Yep, always good to see the 87 having a nice run. About 2 seconds in front of the car behind him as DeLeo's in the wall. The race leader, Dominic DeLeo, has made contact with the wall in turn 2. Eli Green just passed him. The 28 car back on the lead lap.
The 66 of Bobby Tinch is well back on the lead lap. And I noticed when DeLeo got into the wall there, it gained a lot of time for second place Matthew Robinson. He closed in almost a half second on the back straightaway alone. And he's starting to make a late charge towards our race leader with 10 to go.
Yep, 10 laps to go, and the 21 car scraping the wall there, going through turn 2, has allowed the 40 of Robinson to close the gap. Now the 2.2 seconds. Robinson hoping that 21 could maybe hit the wall a couple more times to see if he can have a shot at this.
And Eli Green's praying for a caution right now, because if he's able to get that yellow flag and maybe have something to contend for the win, even though he has put on his last set of tires. But he's back on the lead lap like you documented there, Hunter. Now 9 laps to go. The margin still starting to slim down a little bit. Robinson taking off a couple tenths that lap.
Yeah, gap remains at 2.2 now to 2.3 seconds between Robinson and DeLeo.
Also, another big shout out to a few more guys in the back of the top 10, Hunter. Brian Dixon running 6th. Mark Patterson in 8th. Bobby Tinch in 9th. Those guys having really, really strong runs as well tonight.
Gary Lewis he's gonna have to pit. I'm just looking at this. He's gonna be at 40 laps when they come across the stripe here on this fuel run. I don't know if he can stretch it all the way to the end.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Hunter. He's got 8 laps to go. He's gonna have to try to make it 48 laps. I think we said our max that we kind of set there was about 45 laps, and if Lewis has to come down pit road, that could mean Forrest Smith would grab that 4th spot if he's able to get around him. And the championship I should say.
I'll say Gary Lewis looking like he's going to be in fuel-saving mode from here on out. The fortunate part is that his teammate is a lap down, so he could use that to his advantage as teammates on the racetrack. DeLeo lapping his fellow teammate Mark Patterson, having a solid run here tonight. It would be Mark Patterson's first top 10 of the season. His best finish was 14th earlier in the year, but running 8th right now, holding his own.
Shanewolf getting around the 37 at Cliff Mullins, so even though it's not the run that James Shanewolf wanted tonight, he's doing his best to make sure there's no doubts that he's going to make it to the Final Four next week. He's up to P11.
It's going to be close for top 5 to make it, but really close for Gary Lewis on fuel.
What are our numbers looking like for DeLeo and Robinson? How many laps are they on right now?
Well, DeLeo is at 36 or 30.
37 right now. Yeah.
So it'd be a
Then
43 lap
Robinson
run to
at
the finish for him.
39.
DeLeo's good. Matthew Robinson's right on the cusp. Haldo's good. Christensen's good. Lewis, I don't think he's got enough. He'll be at 48, like you said.
So question
Well,
marks
now
on
we're-
fuel, man, for the 69 of Gary Lewis. Not what he's wanting, Hunter. He's trying to make sure he stays in front of that 84 Forrest Smith.
And Robinson will be really close. He's going to have to go into conserve mode here.
Yeah, I just noticed he's actually lost almost a half a second the last few laps to race leader Dominic DeLeo. So maybe he's thinking that we got to get a look at Gary Lewis right now. He's under attack from Brian Dixon for the 5th spot. So maybe Gary Lewis also going into some fuel conservation mode as there's side by side now for the 5th spot back here in turn 3.
I'm pretty sure Gary Lewis is like, you can have it. I just want to make it to the end of the race. You mentioned what a good recovery from
Clutching, look
Brian
at
Dixon.
2,000 RPM through the corner.
Say he's running lap times that are around 34, 35 seconds, the 69 of Gary Lewis is. So he's doing all he can, saving fuel. So we look to the 40 of Robinson. He's not holding in the clutch.
Yeah, I think he's good. And I think Robinson's safe. The real thing we got to watch is just this 69 of Gary Lewis. And if he decides to dart down pit road, maybe take a fuel only, or if he's just going to try to run it out here to the end. 3 to go. DeLeo still out front, Hunter.
I think Gary Lewis is going to try and clutch it to the end. The 21 of Dominic DeLeo continuing to stretch out that lead close to 3 seconds now from Matthew Robinson. Now he comes across the stripe. 2 laps to go here at Kansas.
Gary Lewis is trying every trick in the book right now to save fuel. He's clutching it heavy in the corners like we documented. He's on the bottom side of the racetrack trying to take the shortest way around. Just trying everything for the 69 to make it to the Championship 4 next week.
It is going to be really close to see if that 69 can go to the checkered flag. There's Cliff Mullins going around the outside.
Right behind him is race leader Dominic DeLeo. He's taking the white flag here, Hunter.
1 lap to go at Kansas, presented by One to Go Studios, and Dominic DeLeo continues to show that he is the fastest car on the racetrack and a threat to watch out for the championship. He won last week at Michigan as the 8th seed with a dive bomb underneath James Shanewolf. But a much easier race tonight for Dominic DeLeo as he rolls off turn 4 for the final time. He already punched his ticket last week, but he makes it 2 in a row at Kansas, and Dominic DeLeo's going to win at Kansas Speedway.
And he'll be racing for a championship. Will the 69 be able to make it back to the stripe and be racing for a championship? He's saving. He's doing everything he can here as he comes through turn 3 and 4. He's probably going to lose this spot here to Eli Green. But I don't
Oh, he
think
can
it's gonna
coast from
matter.
here. The 69 of Gary Lewis rolls off turn 4, and he's going to make it to the end of the race. He finishes well within a spot above his teammate Forrest Smith. So Forrest Smith out, Gary Lewis in to the championship 4.
Dominic DeLeo burning it down on the front stretch.
Dominic DeLeo heading into Phoenix with the biggest momentum push of any other playoff driver. What a season it's been for Dominic DeLeo.
Just an absolute crazy story. First career race ever on iRacing was 2 days before he joined here. And now he's got back-to-back wins heading into the Final Four to race for a championship next week at Phoenix. You're not going to want to miss it next week, man. It's going to be a great race.
Yeah, and who knows what racing we'll see for the championship if it comes down to the last lap heading into turn 3.
And we'll get a chance to talk to our playoff 4 tonight here, Hunter. We'll also get a chance to talk to race winner Dominic DeLeo, who just finished burning it down on the front straightaway. And last week, Dom, we talked to you and you were surprised you were able to get it done in Michigan. Well, definitely no surprise here tonight. You were fast all night long and you get it done. Back-to-back wins for the number 21 car.
Thanks, Jacob. Yeah, no, I figured something out in terms of just saving tires and still being fast in that high line, probably around that second green flag lap. And then strategy-wise, just worked out for us. There was no cautions. I know that 31 was fast, and he just got caught on kind of a different tire strategy. I know 28 Eli Green was fast. He tried a short pit, but I knew that if there was, probably by the green flag pit stops, that if there was no cautions, we kind of had the car to beat. Got squirrely there for like a lap when I got caught up in traffic, but happy to bring it home for the second week in a row.
Well, Dom, I was talking about it during the race. You told us, I believe last week, that you got iRacing in your setup 2 days before the Homestead race, and then you hopped in at Homestead. And I told him, I said, I don't think Dom will mind me telling him. He was pretty off pace there in his first race, and now all of a sudden you got back-to-back wins, and you're in the Final Four heading to Phoenix. I mean, from this story that you've had since the start of the year, you're going to have a great opportunity, it looks like, as one of the fastest drivers now to race for a championship. It's just crazy to watch, Dom, and I don't know how it feels from behind the driver's seat, but it's just been an awesome story to follow.
It feels good. I mean, it's been, this race was a first, knowing that we were in on points, and on the win from last week in Michigan, and kind of got both different styles. Never really led this many laps in a race, as far as pace is concerned. But it's good to know that even coming into this track, I didn't really like Kansas, but 21 Eat Sleep Race Ford is really hitting its stride right when it matters, and looking forward to Phoenix and battling out with James, Matt, and Gary. I think are the final four there.
Yep.
So it should be an awesome Monday next week. But it's been fun. I want to thank my wife. It's Valentine's Day, for letting me race on Valentine's Day. I love you. Thank you. And then friends and family watching. My mom, my grandma, pop, always tuning in, and my brother Robert, Steve, Corey, Mark Patterson, the 51, I think got his first top 10 tonight.
Yeah, he did.
So he's been really good talking things through. He actually made the call to come down pit road there on the caution, which worked out like phenomenally as far as making it fuel wise on both runs there at the end. So all credit to him as far as making that pit strategy call, and good run by him. Eat Sleep Race, the sponsor. You guys in the booth, Jacob, Hunter, Harold, Want to Go Studios, Swift Lifestyles for sponsoring the league, and just was really pumped to be going to Phoenix with 2 in a row. Didn't think this would be possible, but here we are, and try to get it done one more time next week.
Absolutely, Dom. Well, congratulations, man, and we'll be watching out for you next week. Racing for a championship, Dominic DeLeo, your race winner here tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
And Dominic DeLeo is going to be going to Phoenix with all smiles on his face. Another guy who's going to be going to Phoenix with some smiles on his face. Hunter, I believe you caught up with Matthew Robinson.
Yeah, I've got Matthew Robinson up here. Matthew, Hunter, Harold, and Jake in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
Well, seemed like at the very end, Dominic DeLeo was going to just keep it in the wall and let you have that win. But nonetheless, you still have a solid night in your number 40 Rogue Energy machine. How's the car handling out there?
Oh, well, it wasn't my favorite track. I don't like running the high line. I'm more of a bottom feeder, and I was just trying to survive. And I think we pitted a little too early there. We had to save some fuel about halfway through that run, and ran out right coming to the line. So, Dom just, I think, stayed out a lap or two or whatever it was after me, and I think he could just go. So it was a good race overall. I'm not very, don't really like this track too much, but good solid run for us, and Nick Halda finishing third, so I'm proud of him. Looking forward to next week. I think we're in the Final Four.
Yeah, you're one of the 4 locked into the Final Four, and you mentioned you don't really like this track in Kansas. How do you feel about Phoenix?
I like it a lot better, honestly. It's it's not a whole lot of sweeping corners. You can just, get on the brake pretty hard and get on the gas pretty hard, and I like that a lot better. Having to drive the car a lot, get down in the track and drive it. So hopefully, maybe do some practice this week and get Phoenix dialed in. Hopefully, we can sneak it out and get a win. Had been dying to get a win this whole season again. I think the first two, or my 2 wins are at the beginning of the season. So I'm tired of finishing in second.
Yep, they were back-to-back races, one at Homestead and at Iowa, second and third race of the year. Been a while since you've been in victory lane, but nonetheless, still have an impressive top 10 streak, top 10 in every single race, and then top 5 in 14 of our 16 races. So Matthew Robinson going to be one to watch out for in Phoenix going for the championship. Any shout-outs you want to give out before you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Justin Rideout and JW Racing. I'd like to thank Rogue Energy. You can go to their website and look up all their different flavors of drinks, and you can use JW Racing as a 10% off on anything on their website. And Saloon Door Sports. I'd like to thank Married Mechanical, Maxon Industries, and Roof Sport. And I'd like to thank all y'all, Harold, Hunter, Jacob, all y'all in the area booth. Y'all do a great job. Great league to run.
All righty, well, we're going to let you go and have your focus up on Phoenix and going for that Swift Lifestyle Championship. Have a good night.
All righty, thank you.
So that was second place finisher there, Matthew Robinson. And I don't know if we're going to go to third place here, Nick Halda, or if we're going to go to our other two playoff drivers.
We'll go to Nick Halda first on his third place run here, Hunter. I actually got him down here on pit road and a chance to catch up with him. Nicholas Halda, third place finish tonight in that Rogue Energy number 87. You were fast out there, man. Who helped you get it done with the setup and the handling on that thing? And were you putting in a lot of practice this week, or just a good track for you?
A little bit of all the above, of course. All the guys at JW Racing. I mean, team owner, Justin Rideout. Yeah, he definitely preaches team motto, and got some practicing in. Definitely had a different line than a lot of people. Noticed I was saving a little bit better on the tires. Kind of had more long run speed, which is kind of I know that's helping me compete against some of these faster guys. I mean, Matt and DeLeo, Shane Wolf, those guys are pretty quick on short runs, and I figure with the car count today, might have a good chance to take a nice long run, keep it clean, and it worked out.
Yeah, I was gonna say your plan worked perfectly. That car is spotless, and a third place run. You didn't get any laps led out there tonight, but you were certainly in the mix all night long with the right strategy as well. And you mentioned your team, JW Racing. How big has Matthew Robinson been as a clutch to kind of lean on there and get some help from?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, to have a guy that fast to try to look at your line, and it just sometimes it's like the smallest things that he'll see it just makes a world of difference in lap time. Especially seen a big uptick in my qualifying. I think qualified fourth tonight. So being on the team like this, it's awesome.
Well, Nick, you got the win, first race of the season at Daytona, and locked yourself into the playoffs. You weren't able to make it to the next round of 8, but you did have a solid run here tonight at Kansas. Your best finish actually since Dover back in November. So it's been a long time since we've seen you in the broadcast booth and got a chance to talk to you. So I want to give you time to give a shout out to any of your sponsors or whoever helps you get it done on the 87. Super quick out there tonight as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Like I said, thanks to team owner Justin Rideout for putting this team together. Rogue Energy, you go to their website and you get a 10% off with JW Racing, Salon Door Sports, Martin Mechanical, Maxon Industries, Rofu Sports. Thanks for those guys, getting on the cars, making it so guys like Matt and I can get out here and run. And like you said, a little frustrating, makes you think back to Richmond and what could have been. It's but hey, that's racing, and at least I was able to show why. At least I was able to show those guys should have been scared if I was in the playoffs here a little bit. So we'll go to Phoenix and hopefully do the same thing.
Absolutely, Nick. And it's been an honor, man, having you in this series. You've been fun to watch all season long. Hope to see you back next season. But again, congrats on a third place run here tonight at Kansas.
Thanks, Jacob, and thanks to you and all the guys at ARIA, and obviously everybody at One to Go for putting on the broadcast. Great broadcast for everybody to watch, and we'll do one more, and we'll see you back next year.
Absolutely. Well, Nick Halda, your third place finisher here tonight at Kansas. Always cool to get a chance to catch up with him. And then we're going to move on now, Hunter. We'll move on to James Shane Wolf, who technically was our third place guy that made it into the Final Four there, Hunter. I think you got a chance to talk to him about his run here tonight.
I was able to run like a track star down and catch up with James Shane Wolf here on the pit road. James, Jacob, and Hunter with Harold in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Well, you didn't have that good of a night. Had that pit call after the first caution and kind of threw off your rest of the rest of the race, but nonetheless, still in the championship 4. Take us through what that race was like for you and the call there to pit after the first caution.
Yeah. So I knew the point situation going in. Knew I had a 16-point gap. Seen that there was only 17 of us tonight, so I knew I was able to just try anything. I had a good enough buffer to just ride. Basically, all I had to do was finish. So I did the strat for a late race caution to have an extra set, and it just didn't work out. But bigger picture, we get to move on to Phoenix next week, which I'm excited for. That's one of my better tracks. Yeah, tonight was just something to do for a couple-hour race for us. Luckily, we had a good enough couple runs in the first round, and a good enough run last week to have a good enough points buffer to come in here without a worry in the world and be able to mess around a little bit.
I'll say your last win came at Richmond just a couple weeks ago, and you already mentioned it. You like Phoenix heading into the championship weekend. What's it going to be like running for that championship for the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series, and what we could expect to see out of this number 31?
Hopefully you can see it up front, man. That's the plan. But who knows? Honestly, anything can happen. It's not just going to be the 4 of us racing. There's going to be other guys out there racing as well, and I'm sure they're going to be just as hungry to, if they haven't won yet this season, to get their first win before the season wraps up, or to try and get another win on the season. Nobody shows up to a race to run second. So being in the points battle, definitely got to take that into consideration. And the 3 guys that I'm battling are top notch. They're all fast. They're very fast. Gary, me and him have been racing together for years. We know how each other race, and we're also in agreement with once it's the last lap, anything goes. Me and Dom, same way. Last lap, anything goes, obviously, from last week. And then me and Matt Rob actually raced go-karts together growing up, so we're well aware of that one. We've sliced and diced a few times on the real racetrack, so it's definitely going to be an entertaining night race-wise, and it's definitely going to be a nerve-wracking night driving-wise, so definitely one to tune into, for sure.
1 week from tonight, we'll see you along with DeLeo, Lewis, and Robinson go after a championship in Phoenix. Are there any shout-outs you want to give out before you go?
Yeah, shout out to Adam Capps at Elite Entertainment. He couldn't make it tonight, but I'm sure he was watching. I'm sure he was yelling at me for running so bad. Also, Transcendent Designs, sick-looking paint job. 24/7 sim services. New sponsor came on board last week. CNC logging, as well as all the ARIA staff, everything you guys do up here in the broadcast booth. Swift Lifestyles for coming on, and everybody in chat. I heard that I was the favorite to win tonight, and I don't know what the hell is wrong with chat, but they should not put their money on me.
Well, we'll see if they put their money on you again 1 week from tonight in Phoenix. Have a good night, James.
Yes, sir. Y'all too.
All right, that was your third championship 4 driver there, James Shinwell, finishing 11th tonight, and then gonna bring him up here. Mr. Gary Lewis has joined us. He finished tonight's race in the 6th position and had to coast his way to get in, but nonetheless got in over teammate Forrest Smith. Gary, Hunter, Harold, and Jake in the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
I don't know about Jake, but I was on the edge of my seat watching you run the racetrack of around 35, 36-second lap times, running on fumes, trying to make it very close to on fuel, but nonetheless, you got in over your teammate Forrest Smith. And take us through what that was like, because I couldn't even imagine if I ran out of fuel with 3 to go.
Oh, once I saw Eli pit, I looked at my fuel and I saw that I was around 4 or 5 laps short. And after that, I was literally clutching it from maybe 500 feet past the start-finish line all the way through the turn. Just trying and hoping and praying.
Well, it worked in your favor, and you made it into the championship 4, although it did come at a cost for One Mind to Design, or the former name of the team. Gary Lewis got in over teammate Forrest Smith. Nonetheless, both of you guys have had solid seasons. Take us through what it's going to be like going into Phoenix next week.
Well, honestly, I'm not too sure. I haven't ran the new config for Phoenix, so I'm going to be very busy this week sitting on my wheel just logging laps, just hoping and praying to figure something out because I know I have my hands full with the other three that are in here. And I know DeLeo the past few weeks has just been a rocket ship, so I know he's going to be fast. Robinson is just Mr. Consistency, and Shane Wolf, I know how good he's at Phoenix, so...
So Gary Lewis looking into Phoenix as the underdog in the Championship 4, but Dominic DeLeo got his first win when he needed it the most last week at Michigan. Could see the same for Gary Lewis next week at Phoenix.
Oh, I'm hoping for another Hemrick story. I'm hoping first win championship, so...
How are we going to see the backflip? It's virtual.
I could attempt one and send a video, but I don't think you want to see a 6'5" guy break his neck, so...
No, I don't think anyone would want to see that, but nonetheless, we wish you good luck on your championship endeavors into Phoenix. Are there any shout-outs you want to give out before you go?
First and foremost, I mean, Jacob Bell, the whole area team, you guys in the booth. I mean, I love going back and watching. I love Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, tuning in. It's always a blast. Swift Lifestyles for being the sponsor of the league. Of course, got a One Mind 2 Design / Transcendent Motorsports. Got to thank Shane Wolf for a lot of the paint schemes I have. Nick and Drew Trader for bringing me on. And then I got to thank Forrest Smith and Dustin Carroll for being teammates. We have a very competitive team, and we push each other. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be going for this championship.
All right, well, our viewers can see your face at the bottom. That is the war face. That's a guy that you don't want to get in the way of next week at Phoenix. Have a good night, Gary.
I think I got to get a more intense one for championship week, so I might be sending you guys a picture to put in there.
We'll be on the lookout. Have a good night, Gary.
Yep, you guys as well.
All right, that was the fourth championship contender in Gary Lewis, the fourth driver. So we'll wrap things up here at Kansas with our finishing results from the Kansas Cornfield 150, won by Dominic DeLeo. Matthew Robinson coming in second, both those guys going for a championship. Nicholas Hulda, the highest finishing driver not in the playoffs. Rick Christensen and Brian Dixon rounding out the top 5. Solid run from both of those guys. Gary Lewis on fumes, making it to the championship 4, finishing 6th place. Eli Green needing a win to get in. Pitted there towards the last 25 laps of the race. Just did not work out for him, although he did have a fast car when he was up front, finishing 7th. Mark Patterson, teammate of Dominic DeLeo, career best finish in 8th place. Good to see for Fazekas Motorsports, both their drivers finishing inside the top 10 for the first time this season. Bobby Tinch with a solid 9th place finish. And then Forrest Smith not making it to the championship 4 with a 10th place finish. Tough stuff to see there.
Yeah, you got Forrest Smith, who's had a tremendous season, definitely was deserving of a Final Four bid, as well as Eli Green, just not quite able to get it done here tonight. So they'll have to battle next week at Phoenix and see who can finish 5th in the standings amongst the next group of guys that were out of the race, or out of the championship 4, unfortunately. To move on here to the back half, starting with the 11th place finisher here tonight at Kansas, James Shanewolf. He'll be racing for a championship next week. 12th place, Travis Beckner. 13th place, Caleb Steimer. And 14th place, Sean Corcoran. Both those drivers, unfortunately, will not be making it to the championship 4. Cliff Mullins, Rick Ward, and Dustin Carroll will round out our remaining finishers here tonight at Kansas. It was an exciting one, Hunter. I'm excited to see Phoenix next week. I think we're going to have a heck of a title fight.
I can only imagine what Phoenix is going to look like. Who knows? It could come down to the last lap to see who wins the championship. As we look at our Elwood Designs race recap, Dominic DeLeo led 39 of the 110 laps. Certainly was not the most. I believe Eli Green had that at around 43 laps. Had one yellow very early on that changed the dynamic of the race for some drivers. Had 17 in the field, and then Eli Green had the fastest lap of the race with a 31.898. Harold, Jake, any final thoughts before we wrap things up here at Kansas?
I'll let Harold go ahead and take the floor. Like I said, man, I'm good. I'm ready for next week already to see who wins this title.
Definitely looking to be something different, but the guy that comes with momentum is definitely the number 20, 21 of Dominic DeLeo. Showing he can get it done at two different types of raceways, but can he get it down to the short track of Phoenix? That'll be the question for next week.
Yep, in which we still have our other three series looking to find their championship for. Tomorrow night we'll have the Northern Capital Truck Series from Kansas. And then Wednesday night, the Lodge Box Series. And Thursday night, the Sun Speed Shop Cup Series. And all those races start at 8:40 Eastern on the Araya Twitch channel. From everyone up here in the booth to executive producer Harold Darner and Jacob Bell, I'm Hunter Sleppy saying so long, and we'll see you later.
What an exciting race brought to you by Wendigo Studios. Here they come out of turn 4 to the white flag, and it's 1 to go. Thank you to all our sponsors, drivers, and viewers. We'll see you at the next turn.